Hello everyone. Good evening. Hope everyone can see me. Everyone, I am audible, right? Yes, write in a comment box so I can see that. Okay, that's great. So, hello everyone once again and welcome to Pharma Tutorial Live. We are came back with one more session on career guidance. So those who are new on our channel, let me tell you that in prior sessions we were discussed about important career insights of various pharmaceutical sectors, which are available on our YouTube channel's playlist as Pharma Expert Talk. So you can always watch recordings available on our YouTube channel. Okay. Many pharmacists from India have a dream to start their career in abroad, and US, UK, Canada, Arab countries, Australia, Europe are prime locations where they move on. And today's session, we shall learn career insight of such a nation where pharmacists are amongst most respected professionals with good pay. Yes, we are talking about Canada. Unlike India, pharmacists in Canada has a right to prescribe medicine as well as change a prescription. They also instruct physician on errors as well as counsel patients with all possible information on medicines. Pharmacists are also a most trusted professionals over there. Okay, they are most trusted professionals and by people. Surprisingly, you may not aware that community pharmacists are hiring or inviting physicians in their in-house pharmacy. Okay, and we are fortunate that we have a wonderful speaker live from Canada who is registered pharmacist over there. So before we are connecting with him, before we are starting with the session, you can just share this link, okay, right now. So as much as people can visit, you can share this link on your groups or in your pages, okay. So we have Mr. Badal Shah who is joining from Canada. He has completed his B.Pharm from Sri Dhanvantari Pharmacy College, Surat, Gujarat. Later, he completed his MS from New York University in 2011 and then moved in Canada on student visa. He's working as a pharmacist in Canada since 2014 and currently working as clinical pharmacist in St. Joseph's Care Group Hospital in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. So we are fortunate with such an expert is joining with us, and it is early morning right now in Canada. So I'm just connecting with Mr. Badal. Okay, I'm just sharing the control with him. Hello, Mr. Badal. Good morning
hello,
over there.
Thank you. Good morning. Good evening.
Yeah. So now, sir, screen is yours. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone who is joining me from India, and good morning, anyone if you are here from North America. I'm just going to share my screen now, and we'll go from there. All right. I hope everyone can see my screen. Rajesh, can you confirm? Okay. I'm just hoping.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Please
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we're going to talk about how to become licensed pharmacist in Canada with an overview of pharmacist role in Canada. So we'll briefly talk about various immigration pathways, how you can become licensed pharmacist, what you can do if you cannot pass the exams, and overall scope of pharmacist in Canada. Rajesh told me about myself very briefly. I am working as a community pharmacist in Canada since 2014. I am associated with University of Toronto International Pharmacy Graduate Association. I'm a mentor at the University of Toronto Pharmacy Mentorship Program, and I am assessor of PACE program with Ontario College of Pharmacists. And we'll talk about this PACE program in detail because which is one of the requirements that you have to pass in order to become a registered pharmacist. As I said, we will briefly talk about overview of pharmacist role in Canada. We'll talk about step-by-step guide on licensing process. Then we'll switch gear and we'll talk about how to choose course if you are planning to come to Canada on student visa. If you're a final year B.Pharm student right now, this is important. And then at the end, we'll talk about very briefly various immigration pathways to come to Canada. So, where does pharmacist work in Canada? So, most of the pharmacists do work in community pharmacy or hospital pharmacy. You do require license in order to work in these two places. Um, Few pharmacists work in academia and or research, that is, as a professor or research technician and things like that. Again, if you are in academia, you do need license. Another opportunity is in clinical research. You may or may not need license for this, but most of the companies would prefer if you are a registered pharmacist. There are a lot of PhD diploma courses for clinical research which you can do, or if you have any knowledge or experience in SAS program or something like that, that would be beneficial. There's some scope in regulatory affairs. Again, you may not need license for that, but it is preferable. And it is the last one is pharmaceutical industry, such as manufacturing, QA, packaging, R&D. Uh, let's talk about industry. So you can see in this graph, the top one is number of people employed by manufacturing portion of pharmaceutical sector. You can see it's pretty stable number over the year, although it has been increased from 2014 and it is increasing constantly. But if you look at the number, it's around 30,000 people. So it is a small market comparatively. And if you see the R&D expenditure of various pharmaceutical companies, it is not a big of a budget. It's close to 1.1, $1.2 billion. So what I meant to say with these two graphs is the scope in this manufacturing or R&D sector, it's limited in Canada. Um, about the manufacturing, as I said, it was around 30,000 people that was employed in 2018, but over the last 5 years, employment grew by 10.5% as per the Statistic Canada data. The other thing is these industries are mainly in metropolitan areas such as Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. So you do have a lot of competition versus if you're a community pharmacist, you can move anywhere in Canada and there will be a community pharmacy. So let's switch gear and see overview of pharmacy professions in Canada. So if you walk into any community pharmacy, you will see three people working in this pharmacy. Pharmacist, which is a licensed profession. In some of the pharmacies, especially in hospitals, you will see pharmacy technician, again, which is a licensed profession. And you will see pharmacy assistant, which is a non-licensed profession, but the scope of this pharmacy system in terms of financial gain is not that much. You will be working pretty much at minimum wage if you are a pharmacy assistant. The pharmacist is mainly responsible for clinical as well as technical aspects of dispensing process, versus pharmacy technician would be responsible only for technical part of the dispensing process. And as we go ahead, we'll talk about more on this role of pharmacist versus pharmacy technician. By number, in Canada, as of January 2020, there are close to 42,600 pharmacists in Canada, out of which 70% work in community pharmacy, 15% work in hospital pharmacy, and remaining 15% work in various other sectors such as pharmaceutical industry, government, various association, and academia and research. So let's look at this video, which will explain about pharmacy in Canada overall and the role of pharmacists in Canada.
Yeah, video is not visible.
Oh, it's not moving?
Yeah, it is not visible, so you can just move ahead with that. Yeah,
Okay, I will just move on.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so basically the video was about pharmacist role in Canada and what can pharmacists do. One of the things I wanted to point out from that video is there's only close to 8,500 pharmacy technicians in Canada, so which is a growing profession and there's a lot of scope in that. The other part of the video was about what pharmacists can do in Canada. And as Rajesh explained, it is just not about dispensing medication, it's about managing overall health of your patient. You, in some of the provinces, you are able to order lab test and interpret lab test. In some of the provinces, you are able to prescribe medication for minor ailments, smoking cessation, etc. You are able to do point of care testing such as INR, HbA1c, and things like that. And if you and also you are able to inject medication, especially vaccinations such as flu shot and different other vaccination. So it is a lot more that you can do as a pharmacist in Canada. This slide is about step-by-step guide on licensing process. So as you can see, it does involve many steps. You start with registering with Pharmacist Gateway. You complete your PBC exams. You have to write jurisprudence exam, IELTS, structured practical training, and then you can register as a pharmacist. So we'll talk about each step in detail in coming slides. So first, register with Pharmacist Gateway. As the name suggests, is the gateway to get your process started. You do register on this website. It is government website. It basically allow you to your start your application for license, and it will assign you a national ID. That will store pretty much all your data in the database there, and then you can check your process throughout the licensing process. It's pretty easy step. All you have to do is register. The cost for that is around $340 plus tax. And once you do that, you can start your process. The next step is PBC document evaluation. PBC stands for Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada, which is responsible for managing all these exams. So for document evaluation, basically what is document evaluation? All they are doing is they're making sure that your degree is valid. It is from an accredited university and which is equivalent to pharmacy degree in Canada. Most of the university or colleges in Canada, in India, that degree from that colleges will be able to pass this step as long as it's accredited college or university, but still you have to do this step. So you are required to apply online and submit various documents, including your transcript, degree certificate, your identification document, and good standing certificate for your from your state college of pharmacy in India for processing. Once you do that, they will evaluate your document and they will let you know whether your degree is equivalent in Canada or no. Now, by paying extra $100, you can request a report called ECA, which is Education Competency Assessment. And that is required for your PR application. So if you're applying for PR, these first two steps are required anyway. You can bypass this step by going with WES, but a lot of people would prefer that because then you don't spend money in two places for two different purposes. The cost for this process is $670, and it takes around 6 to 10 weeks after you apply to get your document evaluated. Once you do this two step, which is pretty easy, it's sort of just giving them documents and waiting for it. After you do that, you're ready to write your evaluating exam, which is computer-based multiple choice exam. It has 200 questions and takes around and they give you around 4.5 hours. The passing score is 60% for this exam, and you can only write it twice a year in January and June. And what is this exam all about? So all PBC is testing is that your knowledge of overall pharmacy is equivalent to knowledge of Canadian graduates. So there will be questions based on biomedical science, pharmaceutical science, pharmacy practice, including clinical science and professional skills. and some of the question will be behavior and administrative pharmacy sciences. So in overall, the question will be from 4 year of your pharmacy education. There won't be any specific question, specific topics covered, but it will be like general exam. The cost to write this exam is $870. And let's take a look at the passing rate. So this is the data from PBC, and between 7 exams conducted between summer 2015 and summer 2018. So for the first time test taker, there was close to 4,600 people who took the test, and the pass rate was 47%, versus repeat test taker, the pass rate was around 44%. So it is comparatively competitive exam. It is not that easy, but again, I don't want to discourage you. You can do it. I just want to let you know that you do require a lot of preparation before you even attempt this exam. Once you pass this evaluating exam, there is a qualifying exam, and there is a 2 exam, MCQ and OSCE. So we'll talk about MCQ first, which is computer-based multiple choice exam. Um, it has around 150 questions and gives you 4.5 hours to do that. Now, for this exam, there is no standard passing score. It's a criterion reference-based pass or fail standard. It is a very complicated process, but in a nutshell, what it is they PBC will decide a score. Let's say in June 2018, they decided for that exam, you need 120 questions answered correctly in order to pass. Now, based on that criteria, at every exam, depending on the difficulty of that particular exam, they will decide a new number. So let's say for next exam, if that exam was comparatively hard, they will say, okay, for this exam, you need 150 question, 15 question. Next exam, if it's easy, they might say, okay, for this exam, you need 125 question answered correctly to pass the exam. So basically, you want to do your best in that exam because you don't know what will be the passing score for that particular year that you're writing exam for. Again, you can write this exam only twice a year in May and November. The blueprint for this exam, now this MCQ, it's not about overall pharmacy. It's mainly about therapeutics. It mainly checks your patient care knowledge and your product distribution knowledge. So there will be a lot of question about managing overall patient care. There will be a lot of questions related to a particular disease, such as diabetes, drugs and diabetes. Some of the question will be mainly case studies. So you will have data about patient, and then there will be 3 or 4 different questions based on that. Other than these 2 topics, there will be question about legal and professional responsibility, practice settings, health promotion, communication, and intra and interprofessional collaboration. Because as a pharmacist, you do work with a lot of other professions. You do work in hand with doctors, nurses, social worker, mental health care worker, and a lot of other professionals. So there will be a question about how to collaborate with other professions. The cost to write this exam is $805. And the second part is OSCE. So OSCE stands for Objective Structured Clinical Examination. So this is sort of a practical exam, if you will. It does contain 10 interactive questions and 2 non-interactive questions, which simulate the common and critical practical situation in pharmacy practice. So give you an example, there will be a room, there will be a patient, a person who is acting as a patient, and there will be an assessor who is marking you on your performance. There will be a brief note on the door about, let's say, a patient is waiting for you inside the counseling room, and he has some question, and that's all the detail it will give you. There will be some references there, so it's sort of open book, but there is a time limit. So there might be a product monograph, there might be another relevant reference that you might need. And then all you have to do is you go there, you ask relevant questions, and you try to resolve that scenario that they are asking you. It is objective exam, so the assessor will have a certain points that he's looking for, and if you do that, he will give you a check mark. That's all. It's not subjective exam. So the assessor won't judge you subjectively. All he will do is he will make sure that you are meeting the performance standard that PBC has set for that particular station. There will be some station about doctor waiting for you for suggestion, So there might be a doctor waiting for you, and he will ask you about treating, let's say, infectious disease to a patient who has, let's say, penicillin allergy, and what you would recommend, what dose, and things like that. Again, you don't have to know everything on top of your head. There will be references, but you need to know where to look at and how to ask the right questions. As I said, each station will have 7-minute time limits. And this MCQ and OSCE exam can be given together or separately in any order. So what I mean by that is you can write your evaluating exam. Once you're done with that, for the next session, let's say, which is in November, you can write both MCQ and OSCE if you're prepared. If you think you're only prepared for MCQ and not OSCE, you can write MCQ and write OSCE in next session, which will be in May, or vice versa. Again, this is a reference-based pass or fail standard, so you don't know what you need to achieve in order to pass this OSCE. And the cost for this exam is $1,815. Let's look at the passing rate for these two exams. So now for this one, we do have reference number. So the reference number is the Canadian graduates. So for MCQ for Canadian graduates, their pass rate was 91% versus 94% in OSCE. For international students who were taking tests for the first time, for OSCE, the pass rate was 41% versus 40. For MCQ, it was 41% versus OSCE, it was 47%. And for repeat test taker, it was close to 50% for MCQ and 56% for OSCE. So again, you do require a lot of preparation for these two exams, and especially for MCQ and OSCE, because it does involve a lot of therapeutics. And at least for me, when I was doing my Bachelor of Pharmacy in India, like most of the focus of our program is mainly on industrial pharmacy, right? Versus here, it's mainly therapeutics, patient care, clinical pharmacy. So we do require a lot of preparation before we can attempt these exams. There are a number of trials. So the maximum time you can write any exam is 3 attempts. So for evaluating exam, qualifying, and OSCE, you will have 3 attempts at each exam. And God forbid, if you fail at all 3 attempts, you can ask for one final attempt, which will be available upon successful completion of remediation. So remediation will include some sort of course taking or doing continuing education activities and stuff like that. But let's hope we don't need that part. So you will have 3 attempts to pass these exams. The second part was about bridging courses. So what are these bridging courses? It are the courses developed by various universities, such as University of Toronto. There's one at University of British Columbia. And it basically bridges your knowledge. As I just said, all the countries have different pharmacy curriculum, and these courses will bridge your knowledge between education from your origin of country and education from Canada. These courses are not mandatory in order to get the license, except in British Columbia, it is mandatory. So if you want to continue your licensing process in British Columbia, you have to do this bridging course, which costs around $10,000. And in Ontario, it is mandatory only if you cannot pass your exam, qualifying exam part 1 and part 2, which is MCQ and OSCE on your first attempt. So if you fail any of this exam on your first attempt, and if you want to continue your licensing process in Ontario, then you have to do this bridging program from University of Toronto, and which costs around $30,000. After you are done with all your exams with PEBC, your journey is pretty easy. You have to write jurisprudence exam, excuse me, which is a province-specific exam. So each province will have different jurisprudence exam, and you have to decide which province you want to get your license in, and then you can write exam for that particular provinces. It basically tests your knowledge about Canadian federal and provincial drug and pharmacy practice law, regulation, and code of ethics, which is particular to that province. It is comparatively easy exam. All you need to know is all these laws, which you can study very easily. And the cost to write this exam is around $125 to $300, depending on the provinces which you are writing it in. You do require language proficiency exam. You can do it at any time of your licensing process, but there is only validity of 2 years. So you want to write this exam at the end of your journey. IELTS 7 or higher is required in academic module. In some cases, this required can be waived. So depending on your education, let's say you have studied in Canada for 2 years in any program, and then you're working in Canada, you can write to provincial college and explain it with your old IELTS score, and they might waive it. Not in all cases, but it is possible to get it waived. And if you have to write it, the cost would be around $339 for IELTS. After that comes structural practical training. So what it does is they will ask you to work in pharmacy as an intern, and depending on the province, either you will have mentor or assessor who will guide or assess you respectively on depending on the which province you are doing it. And based on that assessment, the report will go to college, and then you can get your license, or the college might ask you to do further training. Time for this part can vary very significantly from 3 weeks to 2 years, depending on province and depending on your ability to demonstrate that you are ready for practice. So all the college is looking for is you meet all the competency at entry to work as a pharmacist in Canada. Um, as, as an example, in Ontario, it's PACE training, which is minimum 3 weeks. And then in 3 weeks, if you can demonstrate to your assessor that you are ready to practice, the report will go to college. And if college decide that you are ready to practice, then you will get your license. If not, they will ask you to do more training. Versus some of the provinces have certain requirements, such as 500 hours of internship in community pharmacy. So there you are not being assessed, but you have to get training for 500 hours in order to get your license. In most of the cases, this training will be unpaid. So you will be working in pharmacy as an intern, but in most of the cases, you won't get paid for that. And once you do this, you are all good to go. You can register with the college by paying required registration fee, and you are registered pharmacist, and then you can start looking for jobs. So now we will switch gear and we'll talk about what if you're an international student and you're planning to come to Canada on student visa. So you have two options to choose from as a student. You can either choose master's program, which is comparatively hard to get in. You need some research experience. Some of the university might even want you to find supervisor first. And if you have any publication, that will help to get into this master's program. Master program will definitely help you in PR because you will have some extra point for the master's degrees. And the second option is do PG diploma, which will be comparatively easy to get in, but depend which PG diploma you choose, because you don't want to go in any PG diploma which is not useful for you, and you're spending lots of money on that. A pharmacy technician program is one of the options for B Pharm or D Pharm holders because they can do that. And as I said, the pharmacy technician is evolving profession in Canada. There are currently shortage of pharmacy technician in Canada. You never know what will happen after 3-4 years, but currently there is a lot of job available for pharmacy techs. So let's say if you're choosing pharmacy technician program as an international student, why you want to do it? So as we discussed, it's a licensed profession. So once you complete your course, you will have the same PBC exam for pharmacy technician, which is MCQ, and they call it OSPE. So once you write those two exams, which should be easy for you because you have studied pharmacy technician in Canada, you can get your license as a registered pharmacy technician. And because it's a licensed profession, you don't have a lot of competition because only person with license can work as a registered pharmacy technician. And it is comparatively easy to find job with your registered pharmacy technician license. And then you can prepare for your pharmacy license while you are working. So you have a job security, you have a well-paying job, and then you can take your time to work on your pharmacist license after your course is completed. It is comparatively good pay with pharmacy technician, starting from $22 to $30 depending on your job type and location. And it is NOC B level job. So who know about PR will know that you need job in NOC O, A, or B level. I'm sorry, 0A or B level. and this is B-level job. So once you work for full 1 year, and once you have a Canadian degree, you will, in most cases, you will have enough points to get invitation to apply for the PR under current express entry system. Again, if it changed, we never know. But for now, it should be completely easy for you guys if you have these two requirements met. And most importantly, you will be working in pharmacy field, so your knowledge will be fresh. And then, in some cases, it will even help you to understand pharmacy practice better, and then help in your preparation for pharmacy licensing exams as well. But what if you don't get admission in pharmacy technician course? So choose any other program, but think about it. Don't go for healthcare administration or business management, which is not related to your field. A lot of students I see come on this program, such as healthcare administration. Um, there are not many hospitals in Canada, like where all these people can get job then, right? So the market will be limited for job. Like again, at the end of the day, your target is to get pharmacist license, but still, before you get that license, you have to have job in order to meet all this cost and your cost of living and stuff like that. So choose a program which is comparatively easy to get job after. Try to choose program with better job prospects, such as maybe chemical lab technician. I'm not sure if possible to get admission in registered practical nursing, but if you can, that is another program to choose. Um, Avoid 1 year program, because after that you will only get work permit for 1 year. And a lot of students I see, they come on 1 year program, and then they do another 1 year program continuously, and then they will get 3 year program. But why do you want to do all this hassle? Like choose the course which is 2 year in length at start, do it, and then get your permit for 3 years. And always consult few other sources. I do not have nothing against education consultants, but do not blindly trust them. Ask your seniors who are in Canada. There's a lot of online forums you can ask question on. So ask people before you decide. We'll at the last session of this webinar, we'll talk about various immigration pathways. So how we can come to Canada. So pretty much there are three ways: on student visa, work visa, or permanent residency. And let's talk about each in detail. So student visa, if you come on that, you'll have 2 year study with part-time work permit for 20 hours per week. So you can work 20 hours per week while you are studying. It's easiest option among all these three if you're a recent graduate. So if you're graduated within last 3 to 4 years, and if you can afford fees, or if you can get an education loan, this is the easiest way to come to Canada, because you will have Canadian degree, you will have Canadian work experience, and then PR should be comparatively easy. Um, One of the deterrent will be definitely cost, because overall it will cost a lot for this 2 year program. If you're married, your spouse will get open work permit and can join applicant together. So one person will be studying, another partner can work full time. After your study is completed, both of you will get 3 year work permit. And as I said, you will have Canadian education and work experience, so that will help you with the PR. Second option is work visa. To be honest, it is very hard, because in order to get work permit, you need a job offer, which is backed by LMIA. And LMIA is Labor Market Impact Assessment, which is provided by government depending on the job location, job type, and shortage of that profession in that particular area. So it is not easy to get LMIA, and there are a lot of people available in Canada. So even employer would be hesitant to give you LMIA for job which is not very specific in nature. Um, Beware of agents. There are a lot of agents who are asking money for LMIA. It is illegal to do that. You do not have to pay for LMIA. If someone is asking to do that, think twice. And even if it's a legitimate LMIA, the amount you will pay for that and work permit is not worth. Rather than that, choose student visa and do everything legally. And the last option is permanent residency. So you can apply under various federal programs, such as Federal Work Program, Provincial Nominee Program. There is a program for Northern Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. So there is lots and lots of options available for that. First step is definitely to write IELTS, and for this you need a general module versus academic, and create your express entry profile. Once you know what is your CRS score, you will be in better situation to decide what should be your next step. Depending on your score, you might write your IELTS again to get more points by showing your language proficiency, or you can apply for provincial nominee program depending on rules at that particular time. There are some northern immigration programs, so you can do think about that. But the first thing is you need to know your CRS score. You need to know where you stand in that pool of the applicant who wants to come to Canada. And then you can decide where to go from there. And based on your score, as I said, you can decide which program to apply for. That is it. I do have a Facebook page. If you need any help, you can like my Facebook page called Visa Mentor. You can email me, or you can email Pharma Tutor at any time, and Rajesh will forward your queries to me. If you have any question at this point, we'll take the question, Rajesh. So I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Badal, for giving a detailed information about how a person can join in Canada, how he can register, how he can apply for visas. Every details I think we got through you. There are many questions. We will take it one by one. Some came from the students, some are came from our side.
Okay.
The very first question is, what are the career opportunities after COVID-19? So, how you are seeing this situation in Canada?
Particularly for pharmacy profession, there is no changes because at the end of the day, all the pharmacists, all the hospitals were open during this time. Um, Overall, definitely there was so many job losses because of pandemic. So the job market is not that great. A lot of people were laid off or their hours were reduced. But overall, for pharmacy sector, there was no impact for that because of COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, great to hear that. There is a question came from the audience that how to prepare for PVC exam in India. So, how they can actually start?
So it's a very good question. There are, if you are preparing for evaluating exam, there are a couple of books. One of them is called Comprehensive Pharmacy Review. I don't know the author, but I can get that to you, and then you can email them that information. But that is the book to start with, and along with that, there are a lot of coaching services available in Canada, and some of them do offer online classes and things like that. So, like, I particularly don't recommend any one of them because I haven't used any one of them. But there are things like Pharma, Pharmacy Coach, and a lot of other coaching services that you can use to prepare. But I would suggest to start with Comprehensive Pharmacy Review book, see where you stand, and also, this pharmacist gateway portal that we talked about, you can go and you can self-assess yourself. So they might charge you $50 or something like that, and they will basically test you. There will be a lot of questions based on these competencies, and you can write that exam, see where you stand, and then start preparing for that. Then you exactly know what sort of preparation you need.
Okay. So, is it possible to write PVC exam from India? Is
No,
it possible?
because you have to be in Canada in order to write it. So unless you have a visitor visa and you want to come to Canada just to write it, then yes, it's possible. But you have to be physically in Canada in order to write that. You can start your process like document evolution and the pharmacist gateway from India, but then you have to be in Canada to write it.
Okay, great. There is also a question came from Raju Krishnan that what are the role of pharmacist in decision making, unlike India, because in India pharmacists don't have much rights. Okay,
Right.
only they mainly they are doing a dispensing of medicines. So
Right.
in Canada, when we are seeing there are so many rights are there for
Mhm.
pharmacists, so many decision making they can do. So how you see it?
So definitely, at the end of the day, pharmacist is the last defense mechanism in the healthcare process, right? So pharmacists do have right to refuse dispensing if you feel that that prescription can harm patient. Although, as I said, pharmacists and a lot of prescriber work in hand. So that has never happened to me that I have to say, no, I'm not going to dispense this medication. But doctors are very, very open to suggestion, and they do appreciate it. Like a lot of time let's say you have a prescription and patient have allergy to that, or there is a drug interaction, or for any reason, if that drug or dose is not appropriate, doctors will change it based on your recommendation. In a lot of provinces, including Ontario, you can do it on your own. So let's say I have a prescription for an antibiotic for 10-year-old, and that particular antibiotic has a weight-based dosing. I can change dose. If doctor has write 500 milligram and I think the dose should be 300, I am legally allowed to change that dose and let the doctor know. So you do have a lot of variety, and at the end of the day, everyone is making sure that patient doesn't get harmed. So no one take offense if you suggest anything. Everyone work hand in hand in Canada.
Because in India, if you will going to suggest as a pharmacist to doctors, they will scold you. Okay,
Right,
you know more than me. So these situations are that not all doctors, but maybe few are
right,
there. It
and
is well
some
known to the pharmacists who are working right now.
right, and some of the doctors are definitely will be
Yeah,
sincere, right? But
yeah,
most
many doctors are there who actually appreciate, but still,
right,
it's there.
right.
Okay, so now the questions is came from the industrial aspect. If
Okay.
someone has experience from Indian pharmaceutical industry, so is that experience count in Canada pharmaceutical industry?
I would say so. To be honest, I am not 100% sure about industrial sector because I haven't worked in that. But yes, like let's say you have an example in QA, QC, or let's say packaging, and the both of the companies they are using same technology or same instrument, then definitely it does count. And in a lot of pharmaceutical industry job, you don't require license, right? So it should help. Your experience should help if you want to go into that route.
Okay. Okay, great to know that and honest answer on that. And after, see, India is now introduced clinical pharmacy, almost 10 years is over. Okay, PharmD is the course. So after PharmD in India, how is career prospectus over there in Canada?
It will help you in your exam, right? To be honest, if you have a B farm or if you have a farm D, at the end of the day, you have to go through the same process. So let's say one person has B farm and one person has farm D. The process is not different for anyone. You have to do the same process. But if you have a lot of clinical experience during your farm D, which will definitely help during your exam preparation, right? Because as I said, for qualifying exam, a lot of things is based on therapeutics and clinical knowledge. So it will definitely help. But at the end of the day, your job prospects will be pretty much similar compared to a person who has a B farm.
Okay. Also, you explained on work visa and all, but still, some of our audience have questions on the same. That after MPharm, can Indian pharmacists directly join in Canada in pharmaceutical industry
Um,
directly?
in terms of visa process, so if you have a job offer backed by LMIA, then definitely you can join. But I'll be very honest with you, and I don't want to discourage this person asking question, but there will be a lot of people who have M farm with experience who are already in Canada on work visa, student visa, or permanent residency visa. So that particular industry is not going to, like take time and apply for LMIA, which is a lengthy process, and then give it that to you, and then you can come to Canada, right? So yes, you can. Is it possible? Yes, but it's comparatively very hard. So unless and until you have a very very specialized talent that they can't find in Canada, then definitely they can provide you LMIA and you can come. But overall, it's very hard.
Okay. Okay, there is also a last question from us that from Pharma Tutor, that from your experience, what are the difficulties you got? Because people generally see the person who is right now a register or well settled, okay, but how a struggle you got after you moved in Canada, and how other people also general problems they are getting after moving to Canada, because this may also helpful for the audience, for the listeners, to understand about the situations and what are the difficulties they will get if they
Right,
are moving.
definitely, definitely. So I'll be honest. I moved to USA on a student visa first, and then I came to Canada. And I didn't know cooking, so that was my biggest problem, like how to eat, right? But overall, yeah, like in terms of the career-wise, you will definitely have a lot of issues, right? Because even your accent will be different, so you will have hard time, explaining yourself versus you will have hard time understanding what other people is saying because of their accent. In terms of pharmacy exams, it will be definitely hard for you. A lot of people I see who fail on first attempt because we see there is only 50% pass rate, and people got discouraged after that. But you have to understand it's a different exam. You have learned differently, so you will have difficulty definitely that way too. And if you come here on student visa, you will have to manage your time because if you are working as well as preparing for your exams and studying, the time management will be another aspect that you have to manage. So overall, first 2 years it will be hard for you, but it will be worth in long term.
Okay. This is a really a very nice and wonderful session. There are many questions are coming in, but we cannot take all. Okay, but definitely, if you have any queries, you can directly send us at Pharma Tutor, and we will convey your message to the speaker, and he will definitely happy to help you out. Okay, and also it was really informative session. We got all the information regarding how person can apply for visa, how they can actually move in Canada, work permits, even if you have different type of educational qualification, but still processes are same. So many small to big things we learned from this session. I want to thank Mr. Badal Shah for giving us complete details about career in Canada, and also giving us time because it's a odd timing for him also. And finally, I want to thank audience who make this session interactive. Okay, we shall also provide feedback link to all the registered people, registered viewers for this session on their mails in 1 or 2 days. Okay, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this session. Thank you all. Okay, and we shall come up with such sessions in next week also. Thank you, Mr. Badar. Thank you
Thank you, Ravi.
for giving us such a precious information, which is a very which will be going to be a very useful for all the listeners. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.